Warning, this podcast, website, and associated social media accounts are intended for audiences of legal drinking age. We do not advocate overconsumption or the abuse of alcohol. Never drink and drive, drink responsibly. And please remember to always take what we say with a grain of salt. After all, we are just some dudes with some brews.
We started out by crawling out from under the thumb of the man. The lovers of God with dad bods, just trying to feed our fam. Go sit right there and grab a beer, you know just what to do. Throw it back, get hammered, and listen to dudes and brews.
Bro, thanks for letting me come hang out for the 4th of July. It's been awesome.
Sha, bro.
Thumbs up only, really? You're so weird. It's been fun. The weather's weird right now, but
yeah, it's kind of green
definitely get over
skies. That was kind of weird. It kind of freaked me out.
What's great is you have basements.
Yeah.
I
That's
don't
okay.
have a storm cellar or a basement, so if something crazy happens, we just go to a room with no windows, which is the office. So turn the office into a garage, or the garage into an office, I should say.
Yeah.
So it works out, but not always ideal. But you're a super nerd.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have you on to talk about some movies.
All right, cool.
And some fan stuff. But before we get started, we're going to do what we always do. We're going to crack open a beer.
Okay.
So Prairie Artisan Ales, they're out of Oklahoma. I want to say it's Oklahoma City. And this one here, since you like hot stuff,
Yeah.
mango, pineapple, and habanero.
Mango, pineapple, and 6.7 too. Okay.
Yeah, but we're going to split it, so we're not going to go crazy on it. Heatwave. I get these guys all the time. I saw these guys here at Hy-Vee.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, sweet. What's convenient that I've found about being here in the Lincoln area is you're right smack dab in the middle of the country.
Yep. Totally.
So for distribution, it seems pretty convenient.
Yeah. It usually we can roll around. I used to have a really good friend that owned a beer shop. I don't know, booze shop down south.
Oh, yeah?
Of Lincoln, and they literally would tell me, "Hey, what do you want?" and we'll order it.
Oh,
and,
nice.
And I'd hit up that brewery that did all of the Toadies stuff.
Oh, Martin House.
Yeah, Martin House.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Hey, can you get some of that?" And they were like, "No, they're very selective."
They have started to expand, or
really?
I should say, distribute. Like their distribution area is it's expanding.
Yeah.
So you might be able to get something now. I think they are. I want to say they're in Kansas now.
Oh yeah.
So it might be. I'm not 100% sure. But I'm gonna be honest, dude. Their beers, if like outside of the stuff they did with the Toadies, like it's
Not very good.
it's sweet and fake.
Oh really? So
Which they do a lot of gimmicky beers. Like they did a pizza beer.
Oh, okay.
It tasted like tomato soup with too much oregano.
I like that Bud Light Chilada. Have you had that?
I haven't.
Michelle had that at the Saltbox game.
Is it good?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it had like a little spice to it, but it literally tasted like tomato juice.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I was fine with it.
Oh yeah, I
but,
didn't mind
it.
it.
Wasn't.
I haven't tried that one. I've heard good things about it. I've had a Michelada, which is it's tomato juice and beer.
That looks wild and crazy.
It's real thick.
Yep.
It looks like orange juice. Looks
Yeah,
like
or
Sunny D.
Yeah, that's what I was
Looks like Sunny
thinking.
D. Just with the color. Whoa.
All right, well, let's go.
It was like a weird something.
That's not bad.
The mango's actually, I'm sorry, not the mango. The habanero is not overpowering, which is
Nope.
what I was expecting.
And I taste like maybe pineapple. Is that what's in there?
Yeah, it's mango, pineapple, I
Yeah.
think, right?
Yep, mango, pineapple, and habanero.
Yeah.
The initial taste was like pineapple juice, and when I was looking at it, I'm like, this looks like pineapple juice.
So it's really funny because we talked about this right before we started recording. You said, not really a big fan of beer because you taste beer.
Yep.
Things that people have been doing you need to look at if you just want to venture out. A lot of companies will do these sour ales and they'll do them heavily fruited, which
Yeah.
is what I would call this because this is heavily fruit.
Okay.
Do a lot of fruit puree,
Yeah.
which makes them a little bit more expensive, but you get more fruit than you do beer,
Yeah.
which is what you get out of this.
Mhm.
This is actually really good.
Yeah. I'm not too disappointed. The habanero is like in the back of my throat, like it's right on the back side of like where my uvula dangles. That's where it's at.
But it doesn't burn.
No, it's
you can just feel it a little bit.
Yep, just a little
bit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because it says habanero, I always expect it to be overpowering.
Yeah.
Like I had a beer from Ballast Point. They're out of California, and they did a habanero beer that literally it burned all the way down on the back. This one just barely hits you on the back of the throat. It looks like I should have bought more of these because you enjoyed this one.
Yeah, this one was really good.
You know,
I would probably buy that if I drank beer more often.
Problem is, it's 6.7%.
Yes,
and you can't taste that.
No, you cannot.
So you gotta watch yourself.
Mm-hmm. That was pretty good.
Heatwave, dude. These guys have. I don't know how long they've been distributing up here. We've had them in Texoma for a while, and they do a lot of great stuff. I know you like stouts. They do good stouts. Mm-hmm. They do a stout called the Bomb. It's a little expensive, but if you get your hands on one, it's good.
Yep.
Get it. Keep it for a year or so.
It's like McAllister, Oklahoma.
Oh, is that what it says?
Yep.
I want to say they have a brewery in Oklahoma City because I want to say I've stopped at on the way home from here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I could be wrong.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
I wanted to say they had 2 different locations. One in Oklahoma and one in maybe the other one is in McAllister. One in OKC and then McAllister.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong. I don't know anything nowadays, but they do a really good job. So if you see these Prairie Artisan Ales, check them out.
Yeah, they're yummy.
One thing we always like to do here, though, is we like to rank the beers. So on a scale of 1 to 5, what would you give this one?
Well, I would say first off, like I told you before, like I'm not a big beer drinker, and the reason why I'm not a big beer drinker is because I had a bad experience with beer when I was younger.
I get it.
and then when you throw up that beer, just like when you throw up tequila and you taste it again, you're like, this makes me want to throw up again.
Yeah.
So the raw taste of beer, I'm not a big fan of. So if I get a Busch Light or a Miller Light or a Coors Light, I've got to struggle to actually get it down just because it kind of makes my tummy rumble.
Right.
I don't get a lot of that out of this beer. So when I call this a beer, I am being a follower because it's in a beer can.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? I typically wouldn't even label this as a beer because of how it tastes.
Like a malt beverage of some kind.
Yep. Like maybe even a mixed drink. That's almost what it tastes like to me. There's a tiny bit of a beer taste on the back end, but I think the pineapple kind of covers that up really well.
Yeah.
And if I don't pay attention to it, I don't taste that beer taste on the back end.
Right.
But outside of that, I would say on a scale of 1 to 10,
it's a 1 to 5.
1 to 5, like
quarter increments.
From a taste perspective and a description versus experience, I would probably give this a good 4.
4. Yeah.
But that's on my scale because like I said, I don't taste the beer taste.
No, that's fine.
Which I actually
this
really
is
like.
not something that I would drink like regularly.
Nope,
I wouldn't have more than one of these probably at a time. I'm sure you buy these in a 4-pack if I'm just knowing these guys. So yeah, I mean, I think a 4 is good.
Mm-hmm.
So one question I have: what the hell is this little weird creature on the front of this damn thing? Is that something from? Is that a Stranger Things something or other?
No, those are little skeletons with habanero faces.
What's the flower from?
It's a habanero. It's an opened up habanero. So if you ever sliced open a habanero,
because those are the seeds. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
I was thinking
that's all that is.
Too far into it.
That's all right.
Their artwork is always this similar style, so I'm sure they have the same guy that does it all.
Very cool.
It's always weird. But what's the thing that I'm thinking of from? It's like a flower face from like Stranger Things.
Yeah.
What is it?
What do they call it? The Demogorgon.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I tried watching it. It didn't keep me wanting more.
Oh man, I love that.
Like I mean, I watched like 4 or 5 episodes in the like one day, like sitting down and like, cool, it's time for bed, and it didn't make me go, oh man, I can't wait for tomorrow.
Oh man, that's exactly how it was with me. Like it reminded me of childhood movies like the Monster Squad. If you ever watched that,
yeah, Monster Squad's great.
Where you have these kids and these kids are on like a hunt for solving a mystery of some sort, and there's like some horror in it. Like that's exactly what Stranger Things, at least season 1 was, and then season 2 kind of
it
evolved a little bit and kind of got little, I don't know, what do you call them? I want to call them candy canes, but they're
Like
not candy
Easter
canes.
eggs?
Easter eggs. That's what I'm talking about.
Like
candy
what?
canes. Like little sweet things that you really love about. What are they called? But no, little things like that talk to an audience of that generation. So that's what was really interesting to me, at least.
Right. No, I mean, I totally get that. Like, I didn't mind it. I mean, it was what I had seen was fun.
Yeah.
I will say the best thing about Monster Squad, and I've talked about this previously, so my apologies. Listen to more episodes of the show.
Mm-hmm.
We one of the better werewolf transitions in a film when he's in that phone booth.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's a great transition.
Yep.
Underrated if you're not familiar with it.
It's already up.
Oh, okay. So, wanted to talk to you because we don't. I mean, I talk to you on the phone all the time, but the thing is, I haven't talked to you about this in depth yet.
Okay.
So Niners.
Yeah.
They're in a little bit of a. I'm gonna call it a quarterback weird scenario.
Okay.
Because Brock's supposed to come back, but he's coming off a weird injury.
Yep.
But so is Trey, but Trey's had longer to recover and is healthier as of right now.
Right.
Who do you think is going to start week 1?
I think Purdy will still.
Really?
And the reason why I think Purdy will still is just what he's proven in the time that he's been out. I read up a lot about Brock Purdy and the all three quarterbacks they've got rolling right now.
Yeah.
And progression always looks really good for him. The decision making for Trey Lance has been questionable. I have seen a lot of videos though about his the difference in his game regarding his motion during throwing.
Yeah,
and
his
how
throwing mechanics have
his
changed.
mechanics have changed quite a bit. So I'm hoping that that will lead to a lot of more positive pieces within the offense. Now, but I think that Purdy is going to rock it. Number 1, he's number 13, and that is legit.
Yeah.
That's my kid's number. That was Lewis's number.
Right.
So rocking that, like when I saw him and I saw how well he was doing, I don't buy jerseys.
Right.
And I went out and I bought a jersey.
The Niners have flopped players a lot. It's
Right.
hard to
Right.
hold on to one.
It is.
Yeah.
I still have a Jimmy G and then Frank Gore and I think a Patrick Willis one, but those are
Yeah.
the ones that I've had from the past. But
Right.
but yeah, I have a lot of faith in him. I think that he's gonna do really well. And then how he just showed himself last year, I think that if the Niners start to try and do this quarterback frenzy draw round robin thing, I think it's going to hurt them in the long run. Which I don't think that they should, but I think that they will because a lot of that is I don't know, kind of pressure from the media type of a thing.
I think it's pressure from the media and possibly pressure from ownership, pressure from John Lynch as GM because they put a lot of stock into Trey. They spent a lot of money on him, so it's like we got to see if this pans out or not. Otherwise, it looks like we just wasted money.
Yep.
Wasting picks. So I see why they would give him a little bit of a chance. I want Purdy to start. I do. The thing that I don't want to happen is them to start him too early and he get hurt again and then he not play.
And
but I
that's true.
I have heard the same thing that you have about Trey, and I think it's because what I understood, he went and did off season with Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
So I'm sure he learned a lot from him.
Mm-hmm.
Sure he did. Either way, having 2 starting caliber quarterbacks, not a bad problem to have.
Well, I mean, who's the one that we picked up in
Sam Darnold?
Yeah, Sam Darnold. Like, there's even talk about potentially what Sam Darnold could do for the Niners in certain situations. If you're not down to your 5th string quarterback or 4th string quarterback that we had last
right.
year, where you're taking a wide receiver or a former wide receiver, and putting him behind the
putting him behind center,
behind center. But so there's been a lot of talk about him, or what I've read about them potentially floating him for a trade or floating Trey Lance as a trade. I hope that doesn't work.
I thought they were going to do that during the draft.
Yeah.
But when they didn't use Trey as a pawn during the draft, I said, cool, they really want to keep him and see what he can do.
Yeah, or they were just unsure because he hadn't really shown anything.
they could have just gotten no offers.
Look at Jimmy last year. Like, nobody wanted Jimmy last year.
I blame that on the surgery he had, but...
Well, yeah, but nobody wanted him because they didn't want to give him the chance of it. And then now that he went back and then he got hurt last year, but, I mean, that's nonetheless. But he went back and showed that he could still play.
Yeah.
Like, people were like, oh, well, maybe we should have made that offer. Well, then, you got the trade to the Raiders or whatnot.
Which they're trading for the same guy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but
I'm sorry.
But I still root for him. Like I have him and Alex Smith. Like
you have a soft spot in your heart.
I do for both of them. Like
dude, I'll tell you. After the I think ESPN did like a 60 whatever they call them. Their documentaries. Mm-hmm. No, they have another one that has like an E60. I think.
Oh, okay.
It is.
E60.
They did one on Alex Smith
mm-hmm.
and his injury.
Yep.
And man,
made you cry like a little baby,
dude. When his wife starts talking about it, it makes me bawl because mm-hmm. like it's the risk that he was taking, and mm-hmm. not only that, he almost died because of like infection and all kinds of crazy stuff. So yeah, I've got a soft spot in my heart for Alex Smith as well. I'm hopeful. Either way, our defense is solid. We're gonna go places. It's just a matter of can we get over that hump.
Right.
So it's gonna be a fun season. But keeping it on Niner talk here.
Mm-hmm.
We've been fans since I remember being a fan in the early 2000s, like as a child, and mm-hmm. we were awful.
Yeah.
Like I've been through a lot of losing seasons.
Garcia days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our number one receiver, J.J. Stokes. Like
what?
Like, so we've seen a lot of players come and go. But I got to ask you, because we have a really good player right now that wears the number 85.
Mm-hmm.
But the question is, who wore 85 better? Vernon Davis or George Kittle?
I love me some Vernon Davis.
I did.
So here's what made me a big Vernon Davis fan. And I'm not saying that I'm not a George Kittle fan, because George Kittle is fantastic.
He's my favorite player on the team right now. I'm sorry.
He's fun to watch. He's fun to interact with. He has a lot of energy. He's a good football player.
Yeah.
Like blocking, catching, like receiving, running routes, like he's good.
Yeah.
There was a situation I remember watching Vernon Davis being in a situation, and the situation was like off the field. I want to say like his grandfather died or something like that, and he was still on the field playing, and he catches a touchdown pass in the end zone, and this is while he was on the Niners still.
Yeah.
Catches a touchdown pass in the end zone, and he is just crying his eyes out off the field and brings that football to whatever the surviving member was, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And since then, I'm like, that man has my vote every time. Like, even when he went to Washington, I watched Washington play because I wanted to see how Vernon Davis did.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just and it's that kind of connection that I get with some of the players that show me their human side.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. And it's easier to do because, for the teams that you watch, because obviously you're watching those players. You're not just a random fan for whatever game's on.
Right.
But I really like to see what that transition looks like, even off the Niners, and I root for them while they're off the Niners. Like when Alex Smith was out there, like I was, whatever team he was on, Kansas City or Washington, there at the end, like I'd still watch them and just to see how he would do and see if he couldn't get it long.
Right.
For real, like going, you know what? I'd be completely fine if Kansas City won that Super Bowl when he was in there. Why? Because Alex Smith should have been on that Niner team. In my opinion, but that's just my 2 cents.
I get it. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
He was on a hot streak. He gets concussed. They put in Kaepernick.
Yep.
And Kaepernick was something that the teams hadn't had a chance to watch a lot of film on, so he was a surprise.
Yep.
I totally understand that and see your perspective as to how they could have potentially done something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You can't say they did anything wrong. Because they made it to the Super Bowl.
Right.
Sucks that we lost.
Right.
Power outage helped.
Right.
Us lose as bad.
Convenient.
As bad. But so I loved Vernon. It was on the team. There was one thing that I did not like.
Yep.
I liked his passion and the way he played, but he would try to catch the ball with his body versus his hands, and there was a lot of times where I saw dropped passes that were just frustrating. So as a player, I like George more. As a player, as a personality, George is fun.
Yeah,
He
totally.
is. He's like, I mean, if he doesn't go to the WWE after the NFL, he is throwing money in the garbage because he's basically a WWE wrestler right now.
Yeah. You got the character for it.
I'd be surprised if he hasn't like jumped in and done some stuff like
And
just like one-off shows.
I think I've seen videos of it.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
now that I'm saying it, I think he may
Yeah.
have like jumped in
Yeah.
and done something like because you've seen Pat McAfee has been doing stuff in WWE right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
haven't seen it.
Are you familiar with Pat McAfee? He
The
was
name is really
he was a
familiar.
punter for the I think he was a punter for the Colts, and then he became a podcast personality.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, he was a legit punter. Like, I don't know if he's in the Hall of Fame, but he was a legit punter turned podcaster. He had some stuff with ESPN, but anyway. So it would transition well for him. Yeah, we're gonna be split on this. I'm gonna say
That's fine.
George, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That is okay. But I got some other things here for you. So we're gonna shout out another podcast here.
Okay.
If you haven't seen it, I think you would enjoy it a lot. Honestly, it's called The Confused Breakfast.
Okay.
It's 3 guys. They basically break down movies.
Oh,
It's
okay.
called The Confused Breakfast because it's based on the name of it is based on their favorite films. One of them is The Breakfast Club. One of them is Days of Confused. The other one, I forget what his favorite film is, but they took the word "the" from it.
Okay.
So The Confused Breakfast. You'd have to listen to it to get the breakdown, but they have got some of the best fan theories
Oh, okay.
that I wanted to talk to you about and get your reaction on.
Okay.
So this first one is from Starship Troopers.
Okay.
Pull this up here.
Carmen and Xander up on the spaceship, and there's that, there's a comet coming, an asteroid, and they evade it. Their impact with the asteroid in space, where you change trajectories just by hitting something, that their impact actually changed the course of the asteroid and sent it to Earth. Which means, which very well plays into the fact that a lot of people think that the bugs weren't even the ones sending asteroids. Was this just complete happenstance that they're like, oh, fuck, an asteroid's coming, we'll blame it on the bugs?
FYI, they weren't even supposed to be on that fucking course.
Yeah.
Because
Oh
she
my
changed
God.
the course.
So did Carmen literally fuck everything up?
She started a war.
Did Denise Richards start the war for Starship Troopers?
Like,
I mean, I'm gonna start by saying that's not really a great film. It's
it's a fun game. It's a fun one.
Fun.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it several times.
Yeah.
I would say that in a movie world, no. But if this were real life, fudge, yeah, that would be legitimate. A government entity of some sort making a mistake and then blaming it on somebody else so that people didn't uprise. Yeah, totally.
It's like the whole. Have you heard the one like if Indiana Jones would have stayed home, everything would have still ended out the way that it did.
Right.
Indiana Jones really wasn't integral in what happened in
and
that
stopping
movie at all.
anything.
Yeah. So things would have still planned out. This is one where it seems like the exact opposite, where
Yeah.
it really was her fault. I would agree with that. Didn't think about it until they mentioned it, and I go, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, yeah.
But I got a couple more here. So are you Con Air and the Big Lebowski?
Okay, seen both of them.
Steve Buscemi's the same character in both.
Okay.
It's the same guy. This is the theory.
Oh, okay.
A fan theory. Garland Green from Con Air is the same person as Donnie from The Big Lebowski. In Con Air, Garland is one of the most terrifying serial killers in the world. At the end of Con Air, everyone thinks Garland died in the plane crash, but we see that he sneaks away to do some gambling. Now remember, this was before social media, so yes, people have seen his face on the news, but he's so scrawny and weak-looking and innocent that no one thinks he could possibly be a serial killer. His fun times in Vegas run out, so he takes all his winnings, makes his way to Los Angeles, where he he meets Walter and the dude and joins their bowling team. Two dudes who would never ask questions and only think about themselves. He assumes a much quieter life and personality, but he clearly doesn't stop serial killing. He has a whole bunch of bowling shirts throughout the movie, none of them with the name Donnie. All of these people were maybe other bowlers that he killed. Plus, think about it, he doesn't have any friends or family. No one else shows up to his funeral. Donnie is definitely Garland Green from Connick.
What do you think? Are you convinced?
I don't know if I'm convinced, but I love the transition. Absolutely love the transition. Okay, the shirts with the bowling names.
I'm sure nobody noticed that.
Right. This is a good one. Like in Con Air, that was one of my favorite parts. Is like it was this serial killer, Hannibal Lecter style guy.
He was ominous for sure.
Right. That you totally thought killed that little girl.
Yeah.
Right. And then the little girl's alive, and then you think he dies, and he doesn't die, and he's like free and rolling. Then
right.
So it was almost
a lot
like
of mystery at the end.
Yeah, it was this mystery, but almost like this turn in character, which in my opinion, I think it was made that way for the viewer to root for the anti-hero.
Okay.
Okay.
I can see that.
And for it to transition into a movie like The Big Lebowski and how they identified it. The can at the end. I'm just like, well, I mean, that's how it ends right there. Yeah.
I mean, he has no friends or family. No, I think this one's fun. I don't know how they came up with this one.
Right.
I mean, the way they put these two together doesn't make. I mean, I would have never figured that out, but it's really fun.
Definitely. From a character scenario, I don't really see the transition.
Yeah,
but the actor, I think, is what ties it together.
For sure.
That's it.
For sure.
That's it.
So, since we're on this, what is your opinion on the Big Lebowski?
The Big Lebowski is very much so like when I was growing up in college, this was a big movie in college that a lot of my friends really liked to watch. Okay. And they harped on it quite a bit, and they quoted it quite a bit, and I saw it a couple of times, and I was like, it's an okay film from my personal perspective.
I've seen it once, and
right.
I don't know that I'll watch it again.
Right. I've seen it since then, and there are things within it that transition from a humorous perspective that become more enjoyable.
Okay.
So a lot of the things that the dude goes through in regards to his rug,
right,
is hilarious. How John Goodman's character is like freaking nuts is a lot of fun. How I don't remember the lady's name, but one of the characters that is trying to get pregnant.
Yeah.
And how she's kind of manipulating everything. Mm-hmm. It's just a lot of randomness that is kind of rolled up nicely into a good comedy style movie. It's a dry comedy from my perspective.
Okay.
It's not something that is laugh out loud type of a thing.
Right, yeah. I didn't.
But there's a lot of humorous parts and things that you can quote that make it fun and everlasting for me.
Okay,
so.
I think I need to watch it again because I mean I know it's a cult classic as they say. I really wanted to watch it because I'd heard it was good. 1, 2. I mean, the show's called Dudes and Brews. You can't watch a movie with the dude. I mean, you can't not watch a movie with the dude.
Right, exactly.
So I did, and I mean, maybe I need to watch it again and really understand some stuff. Right now, I was like, when I watched it, I was like, it's okay, it's average. Like, the story's decent. I don't see why this is considered a comedy.
Yeah.
But maybe it's because it's so dry, like I missed things.
Well,
which is weird because I like a dry comedy. Like, I would say, like, Airplane is a dry comedy.
Okay. There's a lot of slapstick in that as well. I would compare it to more like an Office Space type movie.
Okay, or like Little Miss Sunshine.
Yeah, that has a lot of dryness in it, and it's really low and really real. Like a lot of the things that you experience are real, and that's what makes it funny.
Okay,
it's the realism of the daily interactions that are ridiculous
for sure.
That make those things funny.
Yeah,
to me at least.
So it's funny that you say that you like your friends in college really enjoyed this film, because if I remember correctly, when you were younger, you didn't mind going to a bar and getting a White Russian.
Yeah, right.
Was it because of this film?
It was definitely because of this film. Yeah, and, like I said, I'm not a big beer drinker. Never have been.
Right.
So anything that gives me a good taste and gives me a good buzz, I was about. And I liked milk, and I liked Kahlua, and I was fine with it. And you
Liquor
can't taste
and
the
milk
vodka.
sounds awful.
Well, I mean, well, you
Coming
can't
up,
really
it
taste.
sounds way too bad.
Well, see, I never got that bad, so I only
Okay,
had
good.
maybe 2, and I was done. Because I didn't want to push myself over that limit. I always had those boundaries.
milk
in
coming
place.
up sounds just awful in general.
Yeah, totally.
So,
It's
yeah.
like curdled and stuff.
Yeah.
Awful.
That's why I've always stayed away from it. But it's from what I understand, it's like you drink chocolate milk.
It's very much so.
Yeah.
Like, and you can't taste the alcohol unless they put a crap ton of
Yeah.
vodka in it. So.
Somebody does it wrong. So
Yeah.
try a white Russian. That's what
Definitely.
it sounds like. Okay. All right. I'll have to do that sometime. So I got a couple more here for you. So The Shining.
Oh, I love this movie.
So not only the movie, the book as
The
well,
book is
right?
fantastic,
So
yeah.
which one's better?
The book,
The book
by
and the
far,
movie?
by far, the book is better.
Is it because it's more detailed?
It's more detailed, and a lot of the things are more explained. So
Okay.
spoiler alert.
I mean, I'm gonna put a thing at the beginning of this. Granted, all these movies came out more than a year ago, so
Right.
screw you guys for not watching them.
So spoiler alert. I've watched The Shining several times.
yeah,
And in watching The Shining, every time that I've watched The Shining, I thought it was almost like an evil entity that would infect the caretakers.
it's kind of what it seems like. Yeah.
Okay? Well, the book doesn't paint it that way.
Oh,
The
okay.
book paints it as the entity is the hotel. And anybody
Oh,
who
that's
comes
cool.
into the hotel is infected, per se,
Yeah.
by the entity to persuade them to feed the entity.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
In the film, there was a hedge maze.
Yeah.
There is no hedge maze in the book.
Okay.
There are animals carved into the hedges, and the animals come alive in the book.
Oh, cool.
And so that's how some of the transitional things are. But there's a lot of information in the book that kind of relate to what the shine is, why it's the shine, and the shine is literally just something that allows you to be able to almost like telekinesis or communicating telepathically.
Yeah, for sure.
And being able to see evil in things. So that's one part of the story, and the other part of the story is this hotel that has all of this stuff that's trying to consume people, pretty much.
Okay.
So the shine is actually a completely different story outside of what the hotel looks like, and the book does a really good job of putting that together,
Molding them together.
and creating that. And
Cool.
and if you know anything about Stephen King does a lot of transitional things. So he'll have characters in some books that are in other books.
Oh, okay, cool.
So like
out of the books that I've read, I don't think I've
ran through that yet.
Come across that.
So like
Granted, I haven't read a tremendous amount of them, but
in The Shining, the old man that talks to Danny at first, I don't remember the guy's name. He's a black gentleman. That character is in it, in a story in it.
Okay.
That survives an it encounter.
Oh, cool.
So there's a lot of things that kind of go over, and the more you read Stephen King, the more
it's like he
does
has a universe of his own.
it is very much,
and
a
they all
universe of his own.
go
Yep.
together. That's
Like,
cool.
If you've ever watched Castle Rock, it's not a fantastic. It's only 2 seasons, but they try to do that. They try to take a lot of the characters and put them into a story. Into a Stephen King universe
For
style
sure.
thing. So
I mean, knowing Stephen King and reading his books, it's like obviously you're gonna get way too much detail.
yeah, totally.
That's one thing that it's bittersweet reading his book sometimes, where I'm like, dude, just get to the point. You're giving me too much detail at this moment.
Man. There's a reason for the details. Is what I
There-
get at.
There is. It ends up. I mean, in the end, I end up being okay with it. But I'm like, dude, can you get to the point while I'm reading it?
Right.
Did you watch the movie first, or did you read the book first?
I watched the movie first.
Okay.
I watched the movie several times, and then I want to say a made-for-TV movie of The Shining. They remade later after the Jack Nicholson version.
Okay.
And that had a lot that stayed truer to the book
Mhm.
a lot. And then we read this, and then we went to a drive-in theater right here in close to Omaha.
Oh, cool.
And they showed it at a drive-in theater right after we read it.
I bet that was really cool.
That was super sweet.
So, like, because I have
Kinda
this
top it off.
theory that says, like, if you watch the movie before you read the book, you enjoy both separately for what they are, versus if you read the book first, you go into the movie and you just pick the movie apart because it's not like the book.
Yep. Truth.
Versus it going, hey, man, this was really cool. I didn't get this out of the movie.
Right.
But you already enjoyed the movie for what it was.
Correct.
So, but they got a fan theory here for you, so go ahead and give me your opinion on this.
Okay.
I think one of the cooler theories was that the hotel is hell. Jack is in hell. The layout, how that shifts all the time. He walks into Ullman's office. He's in the interior of the building, but there's a window.
It's an impossible window.
It's an impossible window where there should not be a window there with light coming through it, but there is. Feels like everything is shifting. There's a chair in the background when he's talking to Wendy one time that is there, and then it's not.
What most would call a continuity error.
But not in this fucking movie.
Right.
Danny almost teleports at one point. On his third time on the big wheel, he's in the kitchen, and he turns a corner, and now he's in the hotel.
And then he sees the twins.
And that's when he sees the twins.
Yeah.
So there's thoughts that maybe Jack died a long time ago, Overlook is hell, where he must repeat the last winter of his life forever. His dream of killing his wife and kids is just an echo of him really killing his wife and kids. He technically says, I'd sell my soul for a drink.
And that's when it all kind of starts.
That's when weird things start happening, man.
So that's fun, but the things that I know
Based on the book?
Okay. Like completely, like that's a good translation for someone who hasn't read the book.
Okay, cool.
You know, so looking at it and being like, hell, yeah, this is legit. But a lot of the changes that Stanley Kubrick made within that film were adaptations because they couldn't get that certain type of experience. Because that hotel that they actually filmed
when
at...
did this movie come out?
Oh, a long time ago.
Like in the 70s, didn't it?
I couldn't tell you right off the top of my head, but...
Okay. Go ahead.
But straight up, like this... That was part of the entire thing. Like this was a hotel, I want to say in Colorado. You can still go to that hotel if I remember correctly. That they filmed this in.
Right.
So knowing what I know, that's not as fun as I want it to be.
1980.
But if I hadn't have read it previously, that would have been a really good take on what the movie is doing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, this guy right here.
Only
go back.
ruined you
Go back. Go back.
of-
What is his name?
This gentleman here?
Yeah, Dick Halloran. Dick Halloran. That's the character that's in the It novel as well.
Is it in room 237?
Room 237 is the room that's in The Shining.
Yeah, I know. Is it like a spinoff? Or did they do
I
a
don't
movie?
know. I have no idea. It's from 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Good stuff though.
So sweet.
Now, have you seen the signs? Fan
So the
theory?
one thing that I've seen a couple things. So like they say one thing that I saw was, and this is something that honestly I've had conversations about, not about the movie but about aliens in general with other friends, is that the alien is not an actual what we consider an alien from outer space. It's a demon.
Right.
And what the water that's laying around is not drinking water, it's holy water.
Correct.
And that's what's killing the demon.
Correct.
And I've had these conversations about, like, with friends that are like, no, the encounters that people have with aliens, they truly believe that they're demons and not aliens.
Oh yeah.
So it's like not only that's a theory that people have with that film. I have certain people in my life that think that that's a real thing.
Oh, I got you.
That aliens aren't real; they're demons that come in and
I got
do
you.
things.
Show themselves to you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was definitely the theory that I read about, and it was probably a good 3 or 4 paragraphs. It wasn't a little snippet like you have. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry you don't have a video, but it kind of goes through like how the film, like M. Night Shyamalan wanted to create a film about religion, but didn't want to put it out there as religion because of the fan acceptance. piece.
When they hear religion, a lot of blocks come up for sure.
So you put it into a scenario like sci-fi, and it opens the doors for people to experiment with. So, like, that's one thing that I really loved that film about, is when I got into it, I was looking for a sci-fi film. By the time I got out of it, it was a faith-based film.
Wait, and you got that from the very beginning?
From the very beginning.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So, like,
until I heard this theory, I had never even seen it that way. I was just seeing it for, like, the surface level of what it was.
Yeah, I saw it as, like, his wife telling him how to protect his family from the aliens in the future, and that was all related to the religious beliefs that they had, and God creating that plane of verbal transaction from his wife.
Okay.
And then at the end, he regains his faith, and I mean, that's the last scene, is he's walking out of the bathroom, he puts his collar back on, puts his coat back on, and walks out.
Oh yeah, that is true. Okay.
So it kind of like it's a faith building style thing that's really the reason why it's my favorite movie of all time.
Really?
Yeah, straight up. I love that movie.
Man. No, I did not know that. Yeah. I knew that you had something weird with it being your favorite film. It wasn't like as surface level as most people think.
Yeah.
No, that's the. That's cool that you caught that right from the beginning. I mean, I saw it as a fun fan theory. I didn't know that's what he was going for.
I never saw it as demons, like aliens being demons, until I read this fan theory. But I had always had the signs initially as like signs of life on other planets, when signs ends up being signs of a higher being.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah. That's cool that you caught that from the beginning, though. Yeah. You caught something a little bit extra. So, got a couple other things here for you. This first one I'm going to do, and I'm going to show you this thing called, this is a segment that we like to call process improvement.
Okay.
So you like to smoke ribs.
Mm-hmm.
What cut of ribs do you normally smoke?
Usually I do baby back, but my favorite are probably spare. I've done a couple of beef ribs before, but spare ribs are probably
beef is like Flintstone style.
It is, and they're
massive.
Huge. They're huge and they're super greasy. But
I mean, they're great. Like
they're expensive. That's why I don't do them very often.
Right.
That's why I do baby back, because baby back's the easiest to find and the cheapest to buy,
and it's the easiest to cook.
Yeah.
So why do you prefer spare?
You have a lot of meat on each one of your ribs.
Okay.
There's a lot of you don't have to cook so much. But the process is the same thing. I do the 3-2-1 process.
Yeah.
And every time that I've done spare ribs, I mean, a lot of meat on each one of them. The meat turns out really well, and there's not really parts where you know when you have a baby back rib, you have some that are really thick on this side and some that's really thin on this side, and the thin ones get dry, but the thick ones get fine. Like, haven't had that kind of thing happen. With
so that's what I'm gonna tell you. Never buy baby back ribs again.
Okay.
Only buy spare ribs and trim them yourself.
Okay.
Because that's basically, you're just trimming off part of it to make baby back.
Okay.
And this guy tells you how. Because keep those trimmings, make ground beef out of it, use it for something else.
Oh yeah, this dude.
Have you seen this guy before?
No, I've seen this guy before, but not this video.
Let me show y'all how to save a little money when you're buying ribs. Buy the whole racks of spare ribs and trim them down to St. Louis cut ribs yourself. Don't pay the butcher to do it. All you do is come down about 3 or 4 bones and find the longest bone. Where this bone ends, that's your line. Keep your rack straight and make a straight cut all the way down the ribs. That separates them. Rib tips and St. Louis cut spare ribs. And what I like to do is just dock off a little bit of that edge. That can go to the rib tip pile. We'll straighten this side up, maybe lose this bone here. You can cook him too. Just grab you a piece of paper towel, get up under that membrane. The paper towel helps you grab onto it. Just pull right down the rib. Get a little smaller knife, raise that flat meat off. You don't want any hangers here. We want to clean this rack of ribs up. That looks good to me. Got a little excess fat here on top. I like to eat that fat, but I am going to shave just a little bit of it off. We don't need it too thick. Now all we need is some smoke.
Because from what I understand, St. Louis style and the spare ribs, they're about the same price.
Oh, okay.
So
I think I've gotten St. Louis one time.
St. Louis is what I've normally purchased. But it's a little bit bigger than your baby back, and you don't have the gristle part of the spare.
Gotcha.
So I don't think I'm ever going to purchase anything but spare ribs and just trim it myself. I mean, if
Based upon
anything,
this.
even if I don't grind up the rib tips, as he's calling it,
Yeah.
cook that with something else. Throw it in a
Right.
slow cooker, throw it on the
Right, slow
smoker,
cooker is
like
what I was
whatever.
thinking, yeah.
Like,
Put some beans or something like that.
yeah,
Mhm.
like just throw it for something, make tacos out of it or something.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and this is the thing, I had this, sometimes you go through like Facebook or Instagram and you just start going down a rabbit hole. I went down a meat trimming rabbit hole, and it made me go, why do I not buy just giant things of meat and trim it myself?
And
I'm paying so much money for the butcher to do it when I could just do it myself and save so much money.
it's just like
It's convenience.
I tend to do that with like ribeye.
yeah.
But I mean, you'll spend $100 to $200 on a big slab of ribeye, and then you got to cut them yourself. You know, that's
Yeah.
what we ate the other night.
Yeah.
And
I'm
that's,
sure
I
you
mean,
save a lot of money doing it that
you
way.
do, but I mean, if you don't eat a lot of steak, that steak can go bad. Like even if you freeze it, like if you don't eat it in the season that it's needed to, then by the time that you actually thaw it out, it's all freezer burnt and stuff. So I mean, you gotta make sure that you eat it quick if you're gonna do it that way. So I'm a big believer in scenarios like that. I like to eat steak, but I don't like to eat steak too much. I usually try to stick with like a whiter meat, like pork or chicken. Steak's usually something that's of a special occasion. Right.
But so what do you think about this? Is this something that you're going to adopt? Is this a process improvement that you're going to start doing, or what's up?
I like when I get a big slab of ribs, I don't want them trimmed up.
Really?
Yeah, I'll keep them just like they
I
are.
prefer
and
it
then-
trimmed. I don't like I mean, it's not that I don't like it. It's just it becomes more difficult to eat that stuff that's off the bone, like
Yep.
the tips as he's calling it.
And that's straight up legit. I like that extra piece, and I don't mind working for my meal after it's cooked.
Yeah.
Like if it's really sloppy is where I start to get I don't know, frustrated.
Right.
But the sloppiness, it just makes me eat faster, so I don't make such a big mess.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? So
For sure. Cool. Well, this is something that I'm definitely going to adopt.
Sweet.
You got to get those rib tips, as he's calling it. And yeah, I will throw those in a slow cooker and make tacos out of them all day.
Yeah, some tacos.
Like tacos all day. So got a couple more here for you. So I want to see if you can get behind this.
Okay.
There's this new immersive venue that I've seen online. It looks like more for like sporting events and like concerts.
Okay.
Than it does like watching movies. But have you ever been to like an IMAX?
Yes, I have.
Have you seen a movie in IMAX versus? See, I've never seen a movie. I've only seen like space documentaries and shit that we did at school.
Okay.
So how was the IMAX experience compared to like a normal like plain Jane theater experience?
It literally depends upon the style of screen that you have. So I've been in IMAX that are like dome shaped.
Yep,
So
that's
you
the only
like
one
lay
I've done.
back and you watch like whatever science documentary. But there are also IMAX that I've been to that are kind of curved screens.
Okay.
But they're on one wall still.
Yeah.
And those IMAX, I want to say that the last film, I think the latest Batman. Actually, I went to an IMAX to watch that with Mo,
Okay.
the Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
Pattinson one. I think that was the last one that we saw, and it's sharp, it's clear. Usually, the projector is like a laser projector rather than
nice.
a light projected. And then obviously your Dolby Digital surround sound like makes your butt rattle when the bass comes on. So I mean, it was a good experience. Personally, that kind of stuff doesn't entice me to go and watch IMAX.
Okay.
The reason why we went to the IMAX at the time, it was a matinee. It was cheap, and it was the showing the time that we were in there.
Yeah. And
so
let Mo experience it, kind of
right,
thing. Yeah.
Right. It wasn't anything that I was like, oh, I've got to see this in IMAX type of scenario.
Okay. So this venue, like I said, it's more what I see based on pictures. It's more for like sporting events. So like I will say that sports are more fun if you're in a good environment.
Mm-hmm.
When I've gone to watch soccer, I'm not a big fan of soccer, but if you're in the right environment, it makes you just want to watch soccer more.
Yeah.
Because of the environment. Same thing with football. It's why I like hanging out with family, because we're all passionate about it.
Right.
but I have gone to like Buffalo Wild Wings and watched the Niners game and had just as much fun.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what this reminds me of whenever they show this, because they have the screens that you're talking about that are curved.
Yep.
For like sporting events. In this in particular picture, they're showing a UFC fight, but it could be a football game or a basketball game.
Mm-hmm.
Would this enhance the experience versus just watching like a square TV screen?
Definitely. So,
do you think this is worth somebody investing the money into?
Yeah, definitely. So, so one of the things that I do is I manage a lot of big LED style screens. I install them, manage them, and then put things for advertisement on them. So when I see this screen, I see a lot of the technology that I'm kind of familiar with. Number one, just the live video of the fight, and then on the right hand side, that is going to have to be produced by whoever is.
This looks like something that the UFC would have to like send out.
And see, either the UFC sends out or the provider of the event creates and then puts it on there.
Oh, like ESPN in this case,
right.
That does all their pay-per-views. Okay.
So, and most of the time, everything that's on the right is actually very interactive. So it can be updated right now.
Yeah.
So that if whatever it looks like that's happening, you can change that so that it matches whatever you're watching on the left-hand side for video. So yes, even like think about it from like a football perspective.
Yeah.
Or basketball. Basketball's probably the biggest
Basketball
one.
Would be like it's like your courtside.
Right. And you would see, your betting scenarios, your over-unders live right there.
So you see a lot of value in this.
Especially
from a sports perspective, watching like a live sports.
Yes. And you combine that with legalized gambling, and it is literally, this should be in a casino.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Okay. Yep. So what about doing something similar for like concerts?
Yep.
So you recently went to see George Strait.
Yep.
Massive venue. He where the Chiefs play.
Yep.
So did you have good seats? How close were you to the performers?
We were probably on the 30-yard line, maybe 30 rows up on the right side of the field. So and when I say like the 30-yard line, like the stage is the end zone, and we're on the 30-yard line of the end zone, not the other side.
Right.
And
it's actually not that bad.
It wasn't very bad at all.
That's
and
they
had these really tall LEDs on either side of the stage that showed the closeness of the show.
Yeah. So were you watching more of the screens or more of the performer?
It literally depended upon what was happening.
Okay.
So he like during the performance, like Chris Stapleton opened up for him, and Chris Stapleton just stayed in one spot.
Okay.
Like literally, he put a little dude style rug, right?
Oh, nice, love it.
And then
he didn't get off that rug.
He didn't get off that rug.
Right.
Okay. George Strait was literally running back and forth on the stage.
Right. Oh, okay,
talking
cool.
to people, playing his guitar, going to different mics.
Oh, he sounds a lot more entertaining than the way that you made it seem. But go ahead.
It wasn't that the event wasn't entertaining from a George Strait perspective, but there was a lot of songs that I wanted him to play that he didn't play.
Oh, okay.
So he had a fairly short set. I want to say it's probably like maybe an hour and a half long. I expected it to be probably 2 hours, maybe a little bit longer than that for an encore and everything. But during the thing, they even did a couple of ceremony things where they gave some kind of house away to a guy that was a veteran, because he does this veteran stuff. Which was really cool.
Yeah.
But I mean, that took up 20 minutes.
Right. Right.
Chris Stapleton.
He's an old man. He's got to rest a little bit. I'm sure.
And on top of that, he's giving back to the community. I thought it was really awesome for him to do.
For sure.
But Chris Stapleton stayed in one spot, and watching him wail on guitar, watching the bassist just
making
rock
that
it
guitar
out.
Cry,
and then the types of songs that he sang, he just stayed in one spot. It was a really good experience in regards just to music itself.
So what would you think about going to like a theater per se and watching it on like an IMAX style curved screen and just having it immersive right there in front of you?
So
you're next to fans still,
right.
So you get the fan interaction, which is the one thing that I think you need that VR you would never give you.
Right.
I think the energy comes from like the warm-blooded bodies.
So I would say this. This is a really good idea for live performances in the now.
Okay.
So let me give you a picture of 2 concerts.
Like
that I've
people
been to.
that do like a lot of stuff in the background already. Like pop music.
Well, like let me
just
let me,
go ahead and
let me paint a
give
couple
your
pictures.
examples. Yeah.
So number 1 was the George Strait concert.
Uh-huh.
The field had chairs in the pit.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. That
Okay.
makes sense.
The Eagles, when I brought Mom to see the Eagles.
Yeah.
Chairs everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay?
So you're at the same level as everybody else, regardless if you're on the 30-yard line or the other 30-yard line.
Correct.
Which means but you want the
Rake.
slant so
Yep.
that you get different perspective
Correct.
over people's heads.
Correct.
So I can see being in the back and being a problem.
So let me ask you this. What's the difference between being there live and watching them on an LED, or being there at the same time that it's live and being in another place watching it?
Like this is where I go. This is the reason why if I'm going to go to a show, I want to be up front.
Right.
Because if I'm going to sit in the back, and this is the same thing Pops has said about football games.
Uh-huh.
If I'm going to watch it on the big screen, I might as well just stay home.
Correct.
And that's the way I truly do feel about shows. Now,
Correct.
granted, I've gone to many shows and been on the lawn,
Mhm.
but the thing that I get out of the lawn that I don't get at home is the people.
Correct.
So the environment, and like the lawn is standing room, so we get to jump around and do our thing versus sitting in a seat.
Right.
I think that this is not a bad idea.
I think this is a great
Like
idea.
if you're
for
doing
people.
like a live stream show,
yeah,
and then just have it live streamed to theaters, and you sit in an
Like-
IMAX and you just watch a show.
like think about
like watch Joe Perry play the guitar right in front of your face.
like think about
Like-
like
That is his name,
the,
right?
the Joe Perry is the
Aerosmith, right? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure I was
Yeah.
getting it.
But think about like the finals. Okay, so this year it was
sports
the
100%.
Nuggets.
So I agree with you with sports.
You know, well, it's the same experience for a concert
Music?
goer.
Okay.
Because a concert goer that wants to sit down doesn't want hoodlums friggin' jumping around,
Getting in their way,
pushing
for
each
sure.
other. So a person that wants to experience a live show and have comfort is going to totally invest in this, in my personal opinion. And it would be cheaper because you're not there live, but you're streaming it live. So it's literally you're experiencing it exactly as everybody else would if they're sitting in
Right,
the
it's not
nosebleed seats watching the
pre-recorded with perfection.
LEDs.
You'll see
Right.
all the nuances.
Yeah.
See them talk to the crowd, whatever it is. Yeah. You'll still get that live experience.
And nothing cut out.
I think it's great. It sounds like something that they're trying to build in the colony,
Oh, the colony. Okay.
which is a growing
Yeah.
place. I think they're supposed to be putting a Universal Studios in Frisco.
There's a Hard 8
There's a
barbecue
Hard
place.
Eight in the colony.
Okay. Yeah.
Right
I've
next
been
to
there.
Hard 8 is a venue, the Lava Cantina,
Oh, okay.
that a lot of bands go
Oh,
to.
cool.
I would say a lot of older bands like Puddle of Mud goes there.
Oh, okay.
Which is fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So not a huge venue, but a nice venue nonetheless.
Yeah.
So as much as I am against like VR concerts, this I would be like, great.
Yeah. Totally.
I'd be totally down
Yeah.
for this.
Literally, it to me, it would be the exact same experience as watching the big screen if you were sitting in the nosebleeds. You would hear it live. You would see it on.
Yeah, you have
A
the
screen.
Dolby Digital surround, so it tickles your butt as
Correct.
you
Correct.
mentioned. Like,
Correct.
You get the bass in your chest
Right.
still, so you get all the live experience.
Uh-huh.
I totally agree with this. So when this opens, I'll have to look and see if they're really going to do live music.
Yeah.
If they just do sports though, in a venue like this, because this looks massive.
Yeah.
If it's like this picture shows for sports, like the finals are going on, like let's go.
Right. Exactly.
And
I would totally do that.
And I'm sure it'd be like, because a lot of theaters nowadays, like movie theaters, are like you eat and sit, and like you even have waitresses come by.
Right.
So I don't have to get up and go get another beer.
Right.
Even better.
Right.
Come by
exactly.
and give me a beer.
Exactly.
Like, love it.
How about that?
Yeah. So, man, I really appreciate you coming out and just chatting with me. Actually, I came out here. It was a little long drive for a podcast, but
Yeah.
but dude, I'm gonna have to go back and watch The Shining again.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to watch The Big Lebowski again because apparently I didn't understand all that film.
Check it out.
So it sounds like I got some homework to do, but that's all right. I got to give a shout out to Prairie Artisan Ales for the Heatwave. That was actually surprisingly good.
It was very good.
Reading it, I said, this is probably going to be terrible. Let's try it out. It'll be a sharer. I kind of wish we would have had one for ourselves.
Yeah, like ice cold. Like I'm even thinking like a slushy style.
So
You know what
you
I'm
can do this. So 903 they call their heavily fruited sours, they call them slushies.
Oh, yeah.
And I've talked to Jeremy, and he says that there is a method of putting it in the freezer for X amount of time that'll slushify it.
Yeah.
But it dissipates some of the flavor, so it's not quite as flavorful.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't recommend it because that's not the way he wants it brewed.
Right.
But it'd be a fun experience. I've never had it that way.
Yep, definitely.
So yeah, they sell this at Hy-Vee, by the way, so you
Note
can
to
go
self.
up there and pick that stuff up.
All right.
But everybody else, make sure to follow us online at _Dudes and Brews. But we're out of here. We appreciate you guys tuning in for another episode of Dudes and Brews. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever platform you're on. We're on there. We have a YouTube channel, Dudes and Brews. We would love if you would subscribe there as well. If you are subscribed and you want to help us out just a little more, unsubscribe and resubscribe again. It sounds funny and stupid and kind of obnoxious, all of the subscribing and resubscribing and stuff, but it helps in these little algorithms games for like climbing the charts, because again, we are organic and we are where we are because of you guys.
Yeah, we really do appreciate your support. Shout us out. We really do love it when you guys interact with us, when you add us, mention us, put us on your stories, tag us, all that fun stuff, all the stuff the kids are doing. We like grabbing that stuff and we put it up for you guys. So we appreciate you so much. Keep having fun, drinking them brews, hanging with them dudes. Tune in next week for another episode of Dudes and Brews.